Hello, magic casters of all shapes and sizes! My name is Chance, welcome to my spellbook, and thank you for tuning in to the 37th episode of our first level spell series. I'm sorry about the delay on this one. There's a lot of ways I tried to do it, but it took me a while to end up on this one. In any case, today we're going to be taking a look at one of the most useful and popular first level spells out there. Today we're going to be taking a look at Find Familiar. By Raw, this is just usable by the wizard. The warlocks can get access to it should they pick Pact of the Chain. Same applies for anyone who takes a ritual caster feat, as well as the magic initiate feat. In any case, it is found in the player's handbook, so you should all have access to it. With that hyped up introduction out of the way, let's take a look at the brief overview of the mechanics so we can kind of get a better idea of how this spell functions. The cast time is 1 hour, and it can be ritual casted for an additional 10 minutes. Most people do it this way. I don't know why you wouldn't. The range is 10 feet, the duration is instantaneous, and the effect is, at a glance at least, as followed. Gain a magical animal companion. It has its own turns and actions, but cannot attack. You are telepathically connected up to 100 feet. As an action, you can look through their senses or dismiss them to a pocket realm. You can also cast touch spells through your familiar so long as they are within 100 feet of you. Needless to say, so much utility, it is crazy. The components are somatic, material, and verbal, meaning you have to gesture with one hand, speak forth an incantation, and the material components are 10 gold piece worth of charcoal, incense, and herbs that must be consumed by fire in a brass brazier. So what that means is every time you cast one, you gotta sacrifice 10 gold, roughly. That's how most GMs run it. And the school is Conjuration. With that brief overview out of the way, let's take a look at the full description. It is a long one, my goodness. Okay. Reads as followed. You gain the service of a familiar, a spirit that takes an animal form you choose. Bat, cat, crab, frog, hawk, lizard, octopus, owl, poisonous snake, quipper, rat, raven, seahorse, spider, or weasel. Appearing in an unoccupied space within range, the familiar has the statistics of the chosen form, though it is a celestial, fae, or fiend, your choice once again, instead of a beast. Your familiar acts independently of you, but always obeys your commands. In combat, it rolls its own initiative and acts on its own turn. A familiar can't attack, but it can take other actions as normal. When the familiar drops to 0 hit points, it disappears, leaving behind no physical form. It reappears after you cast the spell again. While your familiar is within 100 feet of you, you can communicate with it telepathically. Additionally, as an action, you can see through your familiar's eyes and hear what it hears until the start of your next turn, gaining the benefits of any special senses that familiar has. During this time, you are deaf and blind with regard to your own senses. As an action, you can temporarily dismiss your familiar. It disappears into a pocket dimension where it awaits your summons. Alternatively, you can dismiss it forever. As an action, while it is temporarily dismissed, you cause it to reappear in any unoccupied space within 30 feet of you. You can't have more than one familiar at a time if you cast a spell where you already have a familiar. You instead cause it to adopt a new form. Choose one of the forms listed above, your familiar's forms for the chosen creature. Finally, when you cast the spell within range of touch, or when you cast a spell with a range of touch, your familiar can deliver the spell as if you had casted it. Your familiar must be within 100 feet of you, and you must use its reaction to deliver the spell when you cast it. If the spell requires an attack roll, you use your attack modifier for the roll. Wow, I think this is the longest worded spell we've ever covered on this channel. But it might also be worth noting there are two alternative choices for your familiar. The Almirage, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, or a flying monkey. They are optional, so your DM doesn't have to include them. The stats are pretty interesting. They are found in Sorry, so let me pull it up here. In the Tomb of Annihilation handbook. There we go. So if you have the Tomb of Annihilation, the stats will be in there. I'll probably, and this is where I was kind of debating on which direction to take this. I will probably have to do a video on the stats of each individual familiar. I'll make sure they're super quick, I'll make sure they're super fast, and I'll make sure they're all labeled. I tried to do it all in one massive video, but it just didn't work out, and I am still trying to figure out the details as to why it didn't work, but for now I'll just have to do a bunch of smaller ones. In any case, that's about how this works. Let's take a look at some alternative uses I could think up. So the primary alternative use for your familiar is taking advantage of the help action. What the help action does is, at least within combat, it allows your familiar to distract the foe long enough for you to get an attack with advantage. Alternatively, the help action can also be used to give advantage on saving throws, and it's for that reason why this is one of the most popular spell choices in the game. You essentially get free advantage, which is super nice. Outside of that, your familiar can take other actions as well, namely ability checks and saving throws. So hypothetically, let's say you deal with the cat familiar, and there's a guard blocking a door. First and foremost, you can look through their senses to scope out the situation before your party gets directly involved, and a cat's a fairly inconspicuous creature as well. And then you could also have it make a potential sleight of hand check to try and steal a key from the guard. And on a success, that saves your party a lot of time, a lot of risk, and honestly, I just really like it. Then there's also the role-playing potential in addition to all of that. The limits for this spell are really up to the person using it and their experience with it and how courteous your DM is. In any case, if you have any alternative uses, any cool ideas, or any interesting ways to use this spell, I'd really like to hear them down below. That being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today, and as always, have a great day and happy casting.